Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from not the Commander's Core studio, in case you didn't notice. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, well, it's kind of a branch off of a previous episode, and if you haven't seen my takes on Morrow's teasers for Murder, but Karlov Manor, Murders, whatever the Murders one is, yeah, that one. There's so many sets coming out this year, a lot of exciting things. Murders at Karlov Manor, I believe, is what it is called. Yeah, that's just around the corner, and again, Morrow does these really cool teasers where it's like, hey, here's like a snippet of a card, or here's like a certain type we're gonna see, or whatnot. And then I like to say, you know what? What would happen if this was what the card was? Because yeah, there's one thing in particular yesterday when going through those teasers that got me really excited to see, so I kind of made my own card to see how close I can get. And actually, in the past, I have gotten incredibly close on what exactly cards do. So with all that said, let's see how close I can get it, and let's jump into it. So just to reiterate, this is not an official card. I mean, hey, I could be 100% correct with this entire thing, and that would be amazing. Chances are that that would not be the case, though I might be close, so we shall see. Only time will tell. Spoiler season, I believe, starts next week. Regardless, Massacre Girl, Ruthless Assassin, a 3/3 human assassin with menace that costs black, red, red. Here we go. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, investigate, and on top of that, whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. So this is my design entirely, except for that last part, which again is the little teaser that Morrow gave. Now, again, we don't know if that second part, whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters, is on a legendary creature, if it's on an enchantment, if it's on a regular creature, an artifact, whatever it's on. If it's on a land, that'd be weird. Anyways, we don't know what exactly it's on. What I'm hoping for, please, is it to be on a legendary creature, and I think Massacre Girl coming back could be a very, 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 very cool character to wield this immense power. Yeah, so here's a couple of factors and why I decided to actually build it in this way. First up, Massacre Girl, crazy cool card originally, and now coming back, yeah, I mean, I think we've all seen kind of the artwork essentially now at this point, which actually I believe this is the actual artwork that is used as a promotion for the set, and I believe that is Massacre Girl. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. Regardless, I used it for this. Massacre Girl coming back, now getting Rakdos, was originally mono black. Rakdos, I think, makes sense. I mean, yeah, just in the Ravnica kind of, guilds, essentially. I think Massacre Girl would fall within that chaotic group. A 3/3 menace, so low to the ground, can get through on opponents potentially, but most importantly, again, being able to build up clues on her own to help you with, well, taking your opponents out in a different way. So yeah, a very, very, very scary commander once you get things going. Another reason I picked this commander and this effect to be in Rakdos is that, well, there aren't really all that many ways to make clues in these colors, which I think is actually probably a good thing. If this was in like blue, it'd be like, yeah, make a lot of clues in a lot of different ways, and then just take your opponents out with your clues. This one actually encourages you, yes, there are other effects out there, and we'll talk about some here in a little bit, to utilize to make clues, but also encourages you to find creative ways potentially to encourage your opponents to cast multiple spells in a turn. So again, there's kind of not, I wouldn't say a downside for you, but it is, yeah, let's incentivize other players and give them ways to be casting multiple spells in a turn, which, again, you're so generous. Like, you're so generous, right? You're helping other players out. Oh, and just when you do that, when I help you cast more than one spell in a turn, the least you could do is give me something, maybe a clue, and I'm going to use that clue to, well, start sacrificing them in one way or another. I mean, you can just pay the 2, sacrifice, draw a card. When you do that, you're going to give an opponent 2 poison counters. And by giving them 2 poison counters, they are 1/5 of the way out of the game. Because again, it only takes 10 poison counters, yes, even in Commander, to take an opponent out. So I think this kind of poison, Rakdos, clue commander is definitely one that we've never seen before. And it's one that I would absolutely love to see. So here's the hope. I am hoping we get something close to this. I am hoping that even, I mean, if we just saw exactly this, I would be ecstatic and I'd be building a deck around it right away because I think it's a pretty cool commander. It's a pretty cool effect. and I would love to see this. Now, I would also love to hear your opinion on this. Do you think that this is too powerful, not powerful enough? Do you think this effect could ever be in Rakdos? Do you think that clues don't belong in Rakdos for some reason? There's not really a lot of Rakdos clues out there right now, but still we can get some, right? And with this upcoming set, of course, there's going to be more and more ways to make clues, of course. But yes, I think that this kind of a commander, I really like the design. I like how it turned out. I'd love to hear from you. With all that said, though, I am going to take you through some budget buys and pricier picks, cards that would work well with this kind of a commander. Because, yeah, we know that that second part, again, whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters, is going to be part of it. And again, there are going to be certain effects that work well with that. And of course, there's certain effects that work well with this card in particular. So here's hoping that we get something close to it. With all that said, let's jump into the picks. First up in the budget buys, again, cards that are less than $1, cards that are within my budget. First up, we got Helm of Awakening. This is the first card that actually came to my mind when I was kind of designing this card. I was like, okay, if I'm going to go about that way of making clues where it's the second spell cast by your opponents each turn, you want to incentivize your opponents to cast things, and by doing that, you're going to say, hey, everyone's spells cost less, not just my own. Look how generous I'm being. Look how benevolent I am. Here, everyone, take extra free mana, essentially. Reducing everyone's spells by 1 is massive, and this you can get down really early. Again, it's basically a mana rock in a way, price-wise, right? 2 mana. Get it down early. Reduce the cost of spells, and again, unlike a mana rock where you're just getting 1 mana out of it every single turn, most likely, essentially, right? You are... well, getting more than 1 because you are reducing the cost of your spells by 1 and everyone's spells too, so everyone can cast more spells in a turn. And again, when they do that, you get clues. Moving on. Marching Duodrone, a 2/2 construct for 2 mana. Whenever it attacks, each player creates a treasure token. So again, not just you. Look again. Look how benevolent I'm being. Everyone is getting treasures. You're welcome, everyone. Everyone gets treasures. Everyone gets free mana. And then all of a sudden... you know what you could do for me? Maybe utilize that mana to cast multiple spells on a turn to get me that there clue. And of course, you can utilize that extra mana for yourself to maybe even sacrifice those clues. Next up, Rakel and Torbrand. 1/1/1, black, red, 3/4, fairy dwarf, flying, first strike, haste. Lots of text on this one. Whenever it deals combination to a player or battle, choose choose any number. Each player creates a treasure token. Each one sacrifices a creature resource to deal damage to a player or battle. This turn deals that much damage +2 instead. Lots of great things. Again, of course, the most notable for this one, in terms of this commander, would be, hey, everyone gets a treasure token. So being able to give everyone treasure tokens, again, can be a way to incentivize players to do what you want them to do. Cast spells. Next up, this one is kind of one where you gotta think about your play group first before determining if you put this one in the deck, because this can be a very salt-inducing card. Of course, there are combos with this card too. I'm not saying you have to utilize those. I'm saying that this works in a way where... let's read the card. Knowledge Pool, an artifact for 6, imprint, enters the battlefield, display, exiles the top 3 cards of their library. Where a player casts a spell from their hand, that player exiles it. The player does, they may cast another non-land card, exile Knowledge Pool without paying that card's mana cost. Basically a way to kind of force a second cast, because again, you cast a spell, okay, it gets exiled, you got to cast something else from that pool. So therefore, yeah, you are just inherently casting 2 spells every single time you cast one, meaning that whenever your opponents cast any spell, they're then going to be casting 2 spells, meaning you get a clue. So again, just kind of an off thing to consider. Again, ways to reduce, ways to ramp players essentially, are ways to help with them casting more than one spell, but also a weird kind of off the way like this one can work as well. But again, only for certain play groups, really. And also keep in mind that this kind of throws a wrench into your own plans as well if you need to be casting certain things. So keep that in mind before utilizing Knowledge Pool. Moving on. Of course, there are certain ways that we actually can make clues in Rakdos. Not too many though. Having Laboratory is one. Tap for a color, pay 4, tap, investigate, make a clue. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 more clues, you can transform it. So you flip it over and it transforms to this, return a creature card from grave to the battlefield, and it does things. But more importantly, you're probably not even going to flip it. You're actually probably just going to keep it on this side, so you just have a clue generator when you need it. Again, that might seem like a lot of mana to make a clue. Again, it's basically 5 mana in total, 4 plus tapping this, which is a land, which means you're not actually utilizing it for mana, right? But still, in a situation where you're like, oh, that player's at 8 poison counters, cool, activate this, sacrifice my clue, and you're gone. That can be a massive effect. Moving on, Magnifying Glass. It's a artifact that is a mana rock that is not very efficient. Pay 3, tap for 1. That being said, it has a lot of utility to it. Pay 4, tap, investigate. So again, yet another way to be a clue generator for you, which again can be crucial for a commander like this. Speaking of crucial though, we can also utilize proliferate effects like Contagion Class. Artifact for 2, enters the battlefield, get a -1/- counter to our creature, pay 4, tap proliferate, which of course means that, hey, everything that's got a counter on it, including players, I can give them an additional counter of that kind. So, hey, if I get at least, I mean, I was going to say 1 poison counter, but it's going to be 2, right, with your commander and that clue sacrifice. Hey, all of a sudden I can start adding to those counters again and again and again. So even if you're out of clues or can't sacrifice your clues for whatever reason, you've got ways to get more counters on players. One that is especially spicy, though, is Throne of Geth. I love this card. Artifact for 2, tap, sacrifice an artifact, proliferate. So this one is perfect because, again, typically with a clue, if you're going to be sacrificing it, you're probably going to be paying that 2 to draw a card, and that's pretty nice to draw that card. But also there's going to be times where like, okay, I don't have mana, but I'd still like to do that, and this is like, oh, okay, cool. Tap, sacrifice my clue, proliferate. So you are getting those poison counters on an opponent and also proliferating too, ensuring that you essentially are getting 3 each time, which is pretty crazy. And then finally, yeah, I mean, you could also utilize other kinds of poison effects like Infect or Toxic, like Tainted Strike, a crazy cool card. Instant for a single black. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains Infect until end of turn. This one can actually play pretty well with your commander, where again, your commander has Menace, so it can get through pretty easily on opponents if they, again, only have 1 blocker. They can't block it, essentially. And they might also just not block because they might then give a trick, maybe, potentially, and they have to dedicate 2 creatures to it. That being said, the trick is this. Hey, basically 4 poison counters for your commander, or more if you have it pumped in different ways, or if there's another creature going through. This is one that's actually kind of funny. If an opponent is swinging with a very large creature, another player, and that is going to get through, just give it Infect, and it takes opponent out. So it can be a very funny kind of like funny for some people. Hey, 1 mana, essentially you lose the game card. But again, other ways to get poison counters, make sure you're considering those as well. Next up, another one of the first cards that came to my mind when building around this essentially interesting concept for a commander is that, well, hey, if we're going to be sacrificing clues, we can do that with Karlov Ironworks. $25, yeah, a crazy expensive, really good card though. Artifact for 4 mana, sacrifice an artifact, add 2 to your mana pool. Being able to, again, generate clues, great, cool. Also generate mana with this, great. So being able to sacrifice those clues that you were generating with your commander to actually pay for other clues, sacrifice them, that can be huge. Or just even, sacrificing those clues, giving poison counters to an opponent essentially for free, even more than free though, because you are getting free mana from this to actually kind of ramp yourself, just a giant ritual effect in some ways. This can really help you out. Next up, we've got Tamio's Journal, which, why did that show up? Oh, it's actually, sorry, it is a budget buy. It's not a price to your pick. I'm not sure why this showed up in my list up here. I think it was maybe a version of Tamio's Journal that's more expensive, because actually, really quick note, there's actually different entries. This is one of the only cards I think with different flavor text depending on which version it is, so it's kind of weird. Regardless, yeah, make sure you're considering this one. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. So a way to generate clues each turn. You can, of course, tap, sacrifice 3 clues with this to go tutor for any card. So yeah, that's basically, again, with this commander, tap, sacrifice 3 clues, give someone 6 poison counters and go tutor for something. That can be pretty deadly. Next up, a card that is not budget friendly anymore. It used to be. Can be manufacturer. If you create a clue, food, or treasure token instead, create 1 of each. This can be huge because, again, you're going to be making a good amount of clues with this commander. Now, with that, sure, you get food. That's nice in some ways, especially if you got ways like Karlov Manor, sacrifice those artifacts for value other than just gaining some life. I mean, gaining life is nice every now and then. More importantly, though, make treasures, make extra ways to generate mana. Speed of Treasures, Descent into Avernus, an enchantment for 3 mana. Beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Descent counters on it. Then each player creates extra tokens, and it deals X damage each player, X number of Descent counters on it. Again, this is a way to, well, punish opponents. I mean, punish yourself too. That being said, it's a way to give everyone a good amount of treasures, give everyone mana so that they can utilize that to make, themselves be able to cast some extra spells. Give them the opportunity to cast extra spells. And when they do that, again, give you the opportunity to make clues, which you have the opportunity to sacrifice, which you have the opportunity to drain opponents out with poison. Have fun. Moving on, Possibility Storm. This ain't another one of those where it's like, okay, stop, think about your play group first. Ask them if they're okay with a card like this, because a good amount of play groups maybe aren't okay with a chaos card like this or like a knowledge pool. Enchantment for 5 mana, where a player casts a spell from their hand, they exile that exiles card to the top. They're allowed to exile a card that shows a type with it. Player may cast the card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exile cards with Possibility Storm on the bottom of their library in a random order. Again, it's a way to essentially force a second cast. It's like, hey, yeah, you cast that one card, but now get something else completely random off the top of your library. And again, some playgroups are not okay with that, but again, it is a way to force a second casting to benefit with this commander. Of course, we also have access to, actually, Karn's Bastion's just above $1 now with that reprint. There you go. Please reprint it again. A fantastic land. Tap regardless, pay 4 tap proliferate, so yet another way to essentially say, we could use some more poison for our opponents. Moving on, Yawgmoth, Thran position, yet another way to do some disgusting things. Hey, protection from humans, nice. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, get a -1 counter to 1 creature, and draw a card. It's going to be a great way to draw a good amount of cards if you need to, but more importantly, with this kind of a deck, black, discard a card, proliferate, a great way to finish players off once you have a decent amount of poison counters on them. And then, of course, yeah, Contagion Engine. This is just a big, bad proliferate machine. Enters the battlefield, -1 counter each creature target player controls. Lovely. And then pay 4 tap proliferate, then proliferate again. So basically, again, 2 -1 counters on those creatures, and also 2 poison counters. So yeah, have fun. I mean, I guess once you get those clues set up to do so. So you know what I mean. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on this one. Do you think that this is close to what it could be? Do you think that this effect isn't even on a legendary creature? Which I'll be very disappointed if it's not. Some players, I'm sure, will be elated that's not. A lot of players out there do not like poison. Other players are big fans of poison. I'm somewhere in between. I think it's an interesting mechanic, and I think when you can build things in the right way, and again, let me know in the comments below. If you think this is way too powerful, maybe it's way too powerful. I don't think it is. Again, in Rakdos, you're just inherently limited. There's not too many ways to make clues. In this way, I think is a fair way to make clues where it's like, okay, it's on my opponents to actually make the clues for me. I can incentivize ways for those clues to be made, but I can't force it. I mean, I guess unless you use like Possibility Storm, but even that you can choose not to cast the card you're getting. You're just never going to be casting another card again, essentially. But yeah, for the most part, you are just incentivizing opponents. Hey, you know what? I'm reducing the cost of your spells. I'm giving you treasures. Give me clues. Give me all the clues so I can give you poison. It's a great exchange, equivalent exchange, like Full Metal Alchemist. Anyways, let me know your thoughts are on this one. I really hope that there's something like this is close. I hope something like this is close. If you're interested in the cards on this episode, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Stay tuned to the channel for exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up, and I cannot wait to see this text on a card, and hopefully it's close. Hopefully it's close. We're hoping so. So anyways, of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.